How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be showing how to use the Metahuman identities from ScanStore. These are great assets that will help you level up your Metahumans, and they'll look awesome like this one you see here. Now, the one that I'm using right now is a custom mesh that I wrapped, but I am using the ScanStore textures. So please stay tuned till the end of the video for the whole thing. Before we move on, this video is sponsored by 3D ScanStore. 3D ScanStore is a website that contains a lot of characters, scanning data, actual real people's scan data done with the best equipment out there. That will give you a fantastic texture to use with your system. They also have very high-end characters that you can use whether you're doing cinematics on any software, Blender, 3D Studio Max, or even Unreal, and you can use all their assets for game as well with the correct optimization. They are most famous for their HD head scans. They have a ton of male and female head scans with very different ethnicities that you can choose from, and a lot that you can not only use the ones that you were getting, but you can also replace them with a different mesh. And one of the things that they've introduced just now is the Metahuman identities. The Metahuman identities is an asset that you can use very easily with Unreal Engine, turn it into Metahuman, and you got a high quality scan data Metahuman, something that will be steps above the actual Metahuman and anything you can get with the Metahuman creator skins. So if you like to work with Metahumans and you want them to look the most realistic possible, you're going to want to come here to the Metahuman identities. They also have ready-made characters that you can use. These are some amazing characters. They have great topology, by the way, so you can just rig them and use them as they are for your video game if you wanted to. So please go check out 3D ScanStore, link in the description down below, and thanks to them for sponsoring this video. All right, so let's get started with the first part. Now, when you open the 3D ScanStore website, you're gonna be greeted with this, and all you have to do is just click the free identity download if you wanna use the one that I'm going to use on this video, or if you wanna browse their library, I recommend you just click on browse library, and you'll see a whole, they have a ton of identities for you to choose from. So there's a lot of characters you can make out of this. Now, if you go to the ScanStore, if you're watching this video in the future and you don't see this heading, then all you have to do is go to heads and should be on Metahuman identities. If you want to use the one that I'm using today, make sure that you just go to free and click on HD Metahuman identity. And you should be on the same place where you'd be if you click on this one. All right, so once you're here, you're gonna click on download. It's going to ask you for your email, your first name, last name, click subscribe. It's going to subscribe you to their newsletter, but you're gonna get an email with the link so you can download the free Metahuman identity that we're gonna use on this part. Now, once you've downloaded, you're gonna get the zip file. It's just a simple zip file. Not too much to it. All you have to do is extract it. I'm just gonna extract it in this folder, select everything, extract all. Now that you have your zip file extracted, there's a little README file that's going to tell you that there are some tutorials on the website, but you can just follow this one. And you have another folder, one with textures and one with that says Mesh to Metahuman, which is the one that we're going to be using right now. So this right here is kind of like their scan, but it's not their HD scan. However, it is good for a wrapping process that we're going to do later. So this is what you're going to get into Unreal Engine in order to use Mesh to Metahuman, hence the name of the folder. Now I have my Unreal Engine project here where I want to drop these. And I'm just going to drop these one over here. Just click on import all. And it brought in the texture. So if it doesn't bring in the texture, you can drop this one in, but it should bring it in automatically. Now, once you have this, all we have to do is continue the usual Metahuman, Mesh to Metahuman workflow, which make sure you have the Metahuman plugin activated. If not, then just go to settings, plugins, and just type Metahuman. And mine is already activated, but if yours not, then just check it, restart it, and you should be able to do what I'm gonna do. Right click, Metahuman Animator, Metahuman Identity. It's going to ask you to log in. And once you're here, all you have to do is create component from mesh and just give it a second. And as you can see, we have our head loaded here. All you have to do is navigate, make sure that you do the tracking, make sure that she is in the center. Now that we're here, we're going to promote frame. It's going to tell you this, it doesn't matter, just click OK. You have your first frame. And now you can track markers. It does it pretty quickly on the new Metahuman plugin. It's actually pretty good and super accurate. So there's a little bit around here that it didn't get. I'd say it's not that big of a deal because it's just so little. The good thing is it picks up the eyebrows. It didn't used to pick up the eyebrows before. One thing that I like to do, however, is make sure that the mouth is a little bit closed. Like not 100%, but make it as close as you can. Just because original Metahuman is usually close. Everything else looks fine. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to click on Metahuman Identity Solve. It's gonna take a little bit. I'll be right back. All right, that actually solved much faster than I thought. And if we do this, we can see that we pretty much have almost a one-to-one to our scan data with this one right here. And as you can see, it's pretty good. It's actually did a great job. What this means is if you have a good mesh, it will give you an amazing mesh to Metahuman. Now over here, because I want the full Metahuman, I'm going to go to Auto Rig, Identity, Schedule Mesh, Full Metahuman. I forgot to choose the body. And I'm going to choose body, medium, normal weight. That's fine. So we can mix it up with other assets. And now we can actually do the mesh to Metahuman. And it's going to send it to Metahuman Creator. And I'll see you there. All right, here we are in Metahuman Creator. I'm going to edit this one. And I want to stop it. So as you can see, I'd say 99% of what we had. However, it doesn't happen with every single mesh. So that's why we're going to do the other process later in the video. But as you can see, it looks pretty good. Now, when it comes to giving it a skin, you have to assign a skin, but you can give it whatever skin because we're not going to be using this. So just give it whatever skin, pick up a hairstyle. There you go. This one looks fine. Let's change it a little bit to something like this. And I think she is looking fine. So I'm going to go back to Metahuman, so that is saved. And I'll see you in Unreal. All right, so here in Unreal Engine, we got our new Metahuman here. And we're going to click on download. It's going to take a little bit. Again, I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, I got my Metahuman downloaded and added to my project. Now, in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I always do this. Go to LOD sync. In number of LODs, just type 1. And in force LODs, type 0. This would make it so that it doesn't switch LODs whenever you move your mouse, because that can become annoying. So once you do that, you can just do compile and save. Now the other thing that I did while this thing was downloading was go into my identities. I created a folder, and if you go to the folder that you got from the 3ScanStore website, you can see there's a texture folder. It's kind of big. If you go into it, there are 3 files. Now, in my computer, it reads them as a Photoshop file because they are. However, if you don't have Photoshop, you can just throw them into Unreal and they will load. I just threw them in as they are and they did load. So don't worry about that. You can use them if you don't have Photoshop. However, if you do have Photoshop, that will allow you to customize the character a little bit with some extra texture that were included there for you to play with. Now what we're going to do is we're going to throw our Metahuman here in the center. This is actually a project that is free. I've never seen before. I just saw it recently, funny enough. And it's like a showcase of what Epic could do back in the day. It's pretty old. And I like it because it's good. It's simple lighting. And it's very good for just showcasing character. So I'm just going to click here so the character is in the middle of the universe. And let's check out our camera. I do have a camera in there. And a bit closer, I believe this camera is a 60 millimeters if you want to mimic that. What we need is to change these textures because these are not the textures that we wanted on her. All we have to do is go into our Metahuman face, go into the Metahuman synthesize head, just the Metahuman shader. Now what we're gonna do actually is we're going to substitute all of this free for the same albedo. And I know it sounds weird, but trust me, it does work. And then we're going to have different maps for this. Now, there's a process that you have to do in Photoshop. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below for the way they do it at ScanStore. That would make this video very, very long. So I'll leave that with the timestamp so you can watch it. And if you want to do the wrinkle maps, you can do so. It's actually pretty easy if you have Photoshop. So all we have to do is go back to where our textures lie. You can see that I have all the textures here, the albedo, the cavity, and the normal map. And they all came right as a PSD file. It doesn't matter. If you don't have Photoshop, you can still use them. All right, now that we are here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look for our albedos. We're gonna throw in all of these. And then we're gonna go to the wrinkle maps. And there you have it. The last thing that we have to do is we need to add the cavity map over here. That actually gives a little bit of a good change to our albedo. So if I undo, you can see there's a slight change. It's subtle, but it really makes a difference. There you go. So you I don't know if you saw that, but again, the cavity map is super important to add there. One of the other suggestions by the ScanStore tutorial is to do 0.7 here on the specular map. It makes the skin a little bit shinier, like actual skin. Like unless you have a lot of makeup and foundation, your skin will always be a little bit shinier. So that actually makes things look much better. Now all we have to do is save this. And as you can see, our Metahuman here changed. And you can see that she is in there in all her glory. And you can see how good the lips and these parts are as well. And I personally am super impressed on how things are done when it comes to these scans. And they do blend well with the Metahumans and Metahuman Creator. So you can do a Metahuman just straight out of the bat. And let me just show you if we create a small sequence just to show you how she looks with all the things moving. Actually, let's get rid of the body control rig because we don't need that. And you just move here. You can see the wrinkle maps doing pretty good. Do the eyes. And everything looks amazing. All right, so up until here, you got a great looking Metahuman. To me, those scans textures really improved the look of the Metahuman overall. It makes it look much more realistic because this is an actual scan. And to me, it looks phenomenal. Now, there is one step above that we can go, and that's what second part is all about. So for the second part, I do want to show you the difference between the scan that's provided with the identity and the actual Metahuman. The reason I want to show you that is because even though you do get a great looking character, very realistic looking character with the Metahumans, there are little details, subtle details that tells you it is a Metahuman. So the first thing for me personally, it has to do with the neck. It doesn't matter what kind of neck you do, as long as it's a human neck, it will always default to this little bit of a broader neck, broader as in wider. And this one, as you can see, it's a little bit skinnier and it has more definition around this area. The other thing, it has to do with the eyes. This was pointed out to me by someone on Twitter. And once it was pointed out to me, I cannot unsee it. I see it all the time. Now, again, this isn't a bad thing, but I think if you do the second step, and if you're able, because we're going to use paid tools here, you're going to really level up your Metahumans. So in order to fix those small problems, what we're going to do is we're going to get the Metahuman mesh. We're going to wrap it around this mesh. And in order for this mesh to be a Metahuman, we're actually going to use a method that if you watched my channel before, you already know what it is. It's called Metapipe. All right, the first step is before wrapping, we have to align both heads. And again, I'm going to do this thing a little bit faster than usual because I already have a video on this that you can watch on the channel on how I would do the wrapping. But again, it's just placing it roughly where it should be. Okay, now that we have roughly placed things in a way that the wrapper would understand and they're almost at the same place, I'm going to take this into Wrap 3D. If you don't have Wrap 3D, I know it's a little bit expensive. The other way that you could do this is in ZBrush. They have something called ZWrap. It's a plugin for ZBrush. So if you already own ZBrush, this will be a very easy way to do it as well. All right, this is the program called Wrap 3 or Wrap 3D. But if you have ZBrush, the process is exactly the same. Difference is this one is node based. So I'm just going to load these two nodes. And again, I already have a video on this, so I'm just going to time lapse. If you want to see the in-depth of this process, I highly suggest you watch this video. All of the videos will be linked in the description, by the way. All right, now that we have all these points, and again, I fast forward if you want to see that process in depth, I have a link in the description for you. But all we have to do is make the, let me just make the wrap. So we do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the base would take out the wireframe so we can see what's going on. And now we're going to wrap it. We're going to click compute. And it's going to do its thing. As you can see, the geometry conforms pretty well to this base scan that we have. The wrapping is done. And as you can see, it did a very good job. Saved a couple of things. But again, this looks fantastic. I'm just going to add an extra node just to fix a couple of things here pretty quickly. Just use this clone function, which I think it's one of the best things of using this program. And as you can see, it actually fixes things and does an average in between both of them. All right, the cleanup is done. And as you can see, we got an amazing model. And it's pretty much one-to-one to our base that we got from ScanStore. Now all we have to do is export the geometry out, and I'll see you in Maya. All right, here we are in Maya, and this is what I use to get my custom Metahumans rigged. Now, I've already have a couple videos on this as well, so I'm just going to go lightly, but just to show you what I do. So it loads the DNA. All right, now that it's done, you can see here that I have a Metahuman. This is a base mesh that I selected with the controllers. Now I load the DNA. And here it is. Now, because I'm not interested in the body, you can get a custom body with this application. I'm sorry, with the script. We're just going to use this metahuman head with a close that's already there, so I'm not going to worry about the body. All right, now that this DNA is saved, we can actually use this and you can see it working. Sorry about the jumping around, but this, I don't want you to go through the whole thing. That takes a little bit. So let me just hide these joints and let's go through this and just use the controllers. And as you can see, it works quite well. And we have a functioning metahuman. And now we can actually export it out. So I'm going to click on export. It's going to export everything and I'll see you back in Unreal. Here in our project, I created a new folder called custom. I'm going to drop our head in here. And there's a couple of things we need to do. Now all that's left is to add the materials and make it work with the grooms that we already had in there. So what I'm going to do is open this. You can see that we have plenty of materials here. I'm also going to open where she is and make sure that we are on this one so we can see all the face materials. You can see there's plenty of materials. Not all of them we're going to use. Now that we have finished bringing everything in and adding all the materials, all we have to do is make it usable. So we're just going to make a blueprint for that. So I'm going to create a blueprint class, actor. I'm going to call it Metahuman Custom, no spaces because it's Unreal. And we're just going to add the head here. Compile. And we're going to add the other things like the hair, eyelashes, etc. Now we can do this the easy way, which is just this. You go to everything, Control C, or if you want, just right click and copy. And we just go here, Control V or paste. And just make sure that all of these are a child of the main head. Now you can see that the hair is not in the position where it should be. That's because we don't have a binding acid that is assigned to this particular mesh. I already created one. I also have a tutorial on this particular thing. So we're just going to throw it in there and you can see how it automatically transforms into where it should be. Now we don't need a mustache or a beard, so I'm going to get rid of those. We just need eyelashes, fuzz, and eyebrows. So I'm going to do those real quick and I'll be right back. For this particular one, for some reason, the eyelashes and the eyebrow didn't transfer, but that's just easy to fix. Just add a groom acid, call it eyelash. And then we just make sure that we have the correct grooms on it. Here it is. Make sure we throw in the eyelashes here. And this one in here. There you go. Now we got some eyelashes. And now we need to add the eyebrows. We get a groom in there. Call it eyebrows. Yeah, I don't know what didn't transfer. It usually does. But if it doesn't, now you know how to solve it. Just going to add these here. And we're going to add the eyebrows. Should be this one right here. And there you go. We got eyebrows. We got eyelash push, fuzz, and everything. So all we got to do is compile and save. And I'm going to throw it in here. Just going to put it where the other one is. It's a little bit lower. That's okay. I'm just going to hide the other one. And leave this one in. I'm going to go into our camera. So as you can see, we have our new custom Metahuman. Let me bring out the other one. And just move this one a little bit to the side. And there you go. Let's just do 50. Okay. So you can see them side by side. And you can see there's an actual difference between the two of them. So this one has eyes a little bit less separated than this one. This one has a more slim figure on the face and more slim figure on the neck and rest of the top part of the head. And let me just get out of here. And this is one of the reasons why I would do this customization. Usually the way that I've been using this customization is with clothes and everything that are not Metahuman related, so it doesn't matter. But as you can see, there is quite a bit of a difference if you use the original Metahuman identity versus using the actual Metahuman creator. And I do think this one is the better one. And one more thing that I wanted to show you before we end the video is the head that I show you in the beginning. So this was the guy that I used in the intro for this video. And what I have on his side is the Metahuman identity that I use for the texture. It's actually not the mesh. So the point of this is to show you that you can actually create your custom mesh and use the texture. And this is an actual Metahuman, by the way. As you can see, it works with Metahuman Animator. But the textures, one of the best things about these textures is they are good if you use them into different mesh. Of course, if I put this texture on a female, it probably is not going to look good, but you get my point. So they are very interchangeable. They're very useful with custom stuff. So if you buy one of these, you don't necessarily have to use the mesh they provided. You can have your own mesh and just take advantage of the textures that are there because they are so good looking. And in case you're wondering, the way that I achieved this custom head was just using another mesh and doing the same wrapping process that you saw me do in the second part of this video. All right, everybody, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And again, thank you to ScanStore for sponsoring this video. They have amazing assets, so go check them out. There's a link in the description down below. So make sure if you're watching this video at the time of upload, there's a sale going on. So just go there, take advantage of that sale. It's a really good sale. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. There's a Discord if you have more questions. And I'll see you in the next one.